Welcome to the Your Leadership Legacy podcast. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and I'm so excited to bring you this next podcast dedicated to you high performers out there who want to reinvent yourself, reinvent your business, maybe your career, all of it. This podcast is all about being dedicated to transformation and being the best possible leader of yourself and others that you can be in order to create a legacy that lives on. Welcome to Your Leadership Legacy. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause. I am the founder and CEO of True You Teams. And here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back. We have Ryan Lynch with us for the next little while. Hey Ryan.
Hi. Hi,
How
Tina.
are you?
Great.
Good.
Great to be here.
I know. I've been looking forward to us having a discussion because I want you to introduce yourself and then we get to talk about men's healing.
Oh boy.
Love the topic.
We love men's healing. It's my passion. So first, my name is Ryan Lynch. I live in Las Vegas. I run a real estate company here with family. So my wife and my son. And so we have 3 children. They're not really children anymore. A 30-year-old son, a 25-year-old son, and a 23-year-old daughter. So yes,
I have a question. Do your
Yes.
kids we call our kids like our adult kids, and they're like, why do you call us adult kids? Why do you have to put adult in the beginning of it?
I think there's a transition. I think of like my journey into adulthood when I thought I was an adult, when I thought like, oh, I've made it and I'm out on my own and pay my own bills. I still was in development. And by the way, my dad had a saying, and I tell everyone that he would say, I'm young only once, but I can be immature forever. And so, it's such a blessing to be a child and to be like in discovery. And so when I think of like my children, the adult children, I think of them as they're on their journey. And my wife and I had this belief that our job and our role as parents is to prepare them for adulthood. And so when they get out into the world and it's not all about paying bills and what money they're going to make. It's who are they going to be as a human? How are they showing up? And just being in contribution. Everyone contributes differently. So that's the other thing. If I look at someone that shows up that isn't they're in their highest and best version, they're contributing. They're mirroring, they're showing me what I have in my space that I get to either clean up or I get to look at. And I think this is what transformational leadership and what I've created and what I've learned through the process is really responsibility.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and I see you, like what I love about you and your wife, I've seen you, because I've seen this happen in like the family and the family unit. So talk to us about your journey. So how did you guys get into this transformational work and what has it done for your family from a ripple perspective?
Sure. So it's an interesting story because my wife had been in transformational leadership over 20 years ago, and it's in Las Vegas. And you got to think, 3 years ago went into the space of transformational leadership as a student, and then as a coach, and keep coming back and digging in. So when I say a process, my wife wasn't in the energy of fixing, of you got to do this and this is the best thing for you. And she held space for me to grow and when the time was right. And in hindsight, 20 years ago would have been great, right? It's always hindsight. So it's not guilt, it's not shame, it's not like, oh, I didn't do this and this is why this didn't happen. It was really we created both of us leaning in. Now I'm in recovery. So if you think about like 12-step programs and alcohol and drugs. So I've been in recovery for almost 20 years. And so the work of transformational leadership in the 12-step space is very similar. It's digging into responsibility to who I am, what's in the way, what's been in my gap, and then choosing something else, right? And so both of us were attracted to each other because we were in the work of personal development, self-development. And yes, there's been ups and downs. There's been, we run a business together. So if you think about, like the perfect storm of what could happen, raising kids, raising teenagers, running multiple businesses together, it's been eye-opening. It's been a learning experience. And I think the fundamental or the what's been coming up for us is, just growth and leaning in. I've found my voice. And so when I say I found my voice, before leadership, it was from a space, and we'll talk about the masculine and really my passion with men and what we're creating out in the world. It used to be, I would tell her what to do. I would say, this is what I'm going to do. Today we're in the dance of we're together, and so we lean in, whether it's the masculine and the feminine. I know that we have both in us, and it doesn't have to be male or female, right? It's a flow. And so who do I get to be in that moment? Who do I get to be with her in that partnership?
Yeah. It makes a big difference when, as a relationship, your partner, we're speaking the same language, we have the same, way to roll through conflict and all that. It makes a big difference. What was the ripple effect in your marriage then from that, when you finally, like after 20 years, Ryan Lynch said yes?
Yeah, it's been huge, right? And I love the analogy of ripple effect because it affects everything, right? It's not only marriage, right? Marriage from our space has blossomed, and we still have disagreements, and we still have opportunities to where ego comes up, and I look at like ego as it has really been a separator at times. You did this, I did that, you made me do, like, and it's that pointing the finger versus the responsibility of, okay, this is a mirror for me. This is an opportunity to see something that, and it doesn't all have to be these hard lessons, these crunchy lessons, right? It could be, wow, what a beautiful, how she's showing up is so beautiful and in contribution. And I have that in me, right? So if I see that out in that out picture, of course it's in me. And so that, from a marriage standpoint, that ripple effect has been amazing. It's been fruitful, it's been full, and right. Then you can start looking and saying, my kids and my colleagues and the person that I come across at the gas station, or it's, if I choose it, because it's always a choice,
Always.
as you know, right? Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, we get to choose it. And so when we choose it, we see that ripple effect. Talk to me about men's healing and why in transformational leadership, like what's holding men back from stepping in?
Yeah. Well, there's all sorts of, I can just speak from my experience and then what I see in a lot of men that are very similar. Well, first of all, when I went into the space of transformational leadership as a student, I looked around in the classes, and as I was coaching, I looked around, I'm like, where are the dudes? Where are the men? Right. And they're there, right? Of course,
Calling
they're
all
there.
men.
Yeah. And it was really like an eye-opener to, wow, like, let me look at my buddies that I grew up with, which I'm still very close with. I have about 20 guys from early in high school that we talk all the time. We go on trips. They're different conversations. When I think of them, it's very interesting. It's very surface. It's very like, they're not going there. They're not going to talk about what's really going on in their lives, right? And then I started experiencing men in leadership, and I thought, okay, like, I get to bring this back into the world. And if I think of my vision is to transform the world one person at a time. One person. then it's not this big, I'm gonna world peace, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
it doesn't
mean,
feel so daunting.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
little chunks. And so then when I'm in with these guys and we're talking and we're the vulnerability, right? I remember Tina, you told me, right, that my superpower was my vulnerability, right? And I truly believe that. I truly believe that I've always known that I've always known that that's who I am and who I can connect with, how I can connect with people. And then I thought of all men have that. Just like we said earlier, that there's the masculine, the feminine in all of us. And so
Mhm.
who do they get to be to really show up authentically? Would there be wars? Would there be conflict? Would there be, I mean, maybe, and I'm not trying to stop conflict in the world, maybe one person at a time, right?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
In this community, this vision that I have is for men to have a safe place to get vulnerable, to bring that back into the world, to bring it back into the world in their relationships, in their businesses, in just their energy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
it's
huge.
powerful.
Yeah. It's
It's
powerful. And like, there's so much programming. I mean, even when we think about the feminine and
mm,
masculine, there's programming on both sides, right? Forever and a day. And so when we start talking about transformational leadership, it's about going deep and getting vulnerable and feelings and,
sure.
and those kinds of things. And so the programming says, what does the programming for the guys say when we go there? Like that, because that's becomes the limiting
Ooh.
belief, right?
Yeah, it's heavy and I mean, yes, so that when you think of programming from a young age, and you know this about me, and I'll share, my dad was my hero. Like, just an amazing dude, of service to everyone, like everywhere that anyone that experienced him would have the same feedback, right? Like
Mhm.
a leader of leaders, like a heart, just like caring everywhere. Never
Mhm.
saw him cry. Never, right? Like, void of that emotion. And he had some heavy stuff that occurred in his life, from addiction to items that I probably won't share here, but it's ultimately like, man, like, what, who would he have been? Who
Right.
would he have been in the world if he showed up with that heart, with that peace, right? Because that's
Mhm.
where the barriers, that's where the real growth happens. And he was a coach of men,
Mhm.
and like, he was in their lives for a long time. And so that lesson started early. That lesson started early, from the schoolyard to your peers to, and my journey in life. If you knew me in my young years, there's maybe buddies of mine that are going to watch this and be like, oh yeah, fighter, like, just
Totally.
like, yeah, like, no, I'm tough, like, you can't tell me what to do, like, I'm gonna, and it was all from this programming of what a male should look like coming into society, right? You can't show weakness, you have to provide for your family. And I remember my parents saying, they never talked to us about being happy in your job, right? Like, that was
Yeah.
the generation. Get
Yeah.
a
You just did
job.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, get a job, have, support your family. It was like a checklist of things, and it left no room for feelings, and it left
Mhm.
no room for being authentic with who you are,
Yeah.
right? and
Right.
and one of the things that I'm really just fired up for and love in our men's work that we're doing, we're
Mhm.
going on, we do retreats, we're doing, like, going on backpacking trips, and these are pretty rigorous, 50 plus mile backpacking trips. You're carrying 40 pounds on your back, and you're with men, going deep. Now, all these guys that we go with have done this transformational leadership work. They've staffed,
Mhm.
they've come back, they've been of service. And so in that, we allow that, we're open to that. right? Now bringing that to men that are just discovering, hey, maybe it's okay to cry. Shocker, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Be who are you authentically? And that's a process. I'm still
Yeah.
unraveling that onion peeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's what I hear you saying is that you create safe space because it
Yeah.
hasn't been safe up until now to really dig into from a male perspective, dig
Hmm.
into who am I authentically and what do I really want and what does that really look like? And so talk about the shift for you, Ryan. Talk about like
Hmm.
what was it that gave you the permission maybe that allowed you to go, oh, it's okay to show my feelings. Oh, it's okay to go there and really feel
Yeah.
that.
I think there's a number of things. I think, you talk about the ripple effect. I think of it like a domino effect, right? It's like your life shows up and maybe it's marriage is challenging, right? So I think when I chose to go into transformational leadership, my wife and I weren't in a great place. And so I remember getting a call from one of our really good friends, Terry Grayson, and she's like, "You're doing this." Right, that was it. And I was like, well, okay. Right? It was
Okay.
COVID, and no, like, no excuse, no, like, I'm busy, like, there was just nothing in the way. And so then going into that space of where it was safe, where I saw other men around me doing this work, and I was just surrendered to, okay, let's just try this out, right? Let's just
See what
see
happens.
what this is about. And would I have been open years ago, whatever it was, I don't know, right? And so I could go back and like really kind of dissect that. One thing that I've done in like the leadership space and where I'm in my life, I don't have to go back and like why and why and why. I get to
Yeah.
be in the moment. I get to be authentic, and even if that means that I'm not in my best version right now,
Mhm.
okay, that's feedback. And then what am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's choice after choice. And so going back into your question, I don't know. Right? Like there were so many things that were
Yeah.
happening in our life that was just the perfect timing for, okay, I'm going to choose this. I'd
Yeah.
already been in the work of the 12 steps. And so like discovery of who I am, what are the patterns that keep showing up? We all have patterns,
Mhm.
right? And the beauty of this work for me has been they're not outside of me,
You're inside.
right? Like
Yeah.
nothing is outside of me.
Yeah. It's a
And
big
so
lesson.
that's
Go
a
deeper in that. What does that really mean, Ryan? Because that's a huge piece of this. So what does that really
Mhm.
mean? Everything's
That's a hard
inside of
pill to
you.
swallow sometimes, right? Because
Yeah.
because the victim story is really fun.
Hmm.
It used to be, right? It used to be this like
Yeah.
a badge of honor of they did this, that's why this happened, that's why this political right, like all the
Hmm.
dance of that. And the for me that level 4 responsibility that I am the generator of it all, right?
Hmm.
Because that's it. And then now, like, I don't have to own everything either. So I don't have to walk through life and be like, oh, well, that guy's showing up like someone that I don't want to be. Well, that's me, right? Like, well,
Yeah.
maybe. So this is the thing, which is if it tags me, and we talk about this in our life, right? Is
Hmm.
if something shows up in my space that bothers me or is like just I don't like that, then I get to look around in my space as well. That's showing up for a reason. And then what do I get to look at to either clean up or just honor and just be in the space of, okay, thank you for that feedback. And then I get to show up authentically and who I am,
Hmm.
committed, vulnerable, powerful, like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really about how you're showing up. It's that self-awareness of how I'm showing up combined with the self-regulation, the tools that I can show up in
Mhm.
how I really want to show up. I used to show up in all kinds of ways. It did not
Yeah.
work for me, right? Like
Yeah.
it don't work.
So I
Yeah.
love where you're going with this, that like if something's not working, if you're feeling it, if you know, like it's a red flag that you get to own
Mhm.
it, not look outside, but own it and then
Yeah.
move forward from that space.
Yeah. I think that like everyone's got for me, my story has been from a little kid, I'm not good enough,
Mhm.
right?
Have that
And
one
no
too.
one really told me that. That's like, as I look back and I've done the work, which is I grew up in an amazing family with support all around us. No one said you're not good enough, just the opposite. I didn't believe it, right? And so that has chased me around most of my youth to young adult up until now, right? And it still creeps in, it still comes in. And so the awareness piece for me is like, okay, thank you for that. Now I am worthy, I am good enough. And like just going back inward to knowing that I am.
It's that
The I
shift. I hear
am
you saying shift.
shift. Shift's a big one. And the choice. So I don't know about you, Tina, but shifts would take years sometimes.
Oh my
They used to,
God.
I mean, like all of a sudden you look
I
around, you're like, what just happened? Right?
Yeah, I didn't know there was a shift for 45 years. I was just on that one lane, on that one road, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to the programming. Well,
Mhm.
if I do this, if I achieve in my business, if I make this money, if I have these things, if this happens, then I'll be okay. Right. And my wife and I just talked about this today, the be do have. Right. And so for me, that's such a fundamental piece of what we create in our world, which is the being comes first.
Yeah.
I get to be this. And yes, I get to have footwork, and I'm not just going to sit back and be like, I'm going to be today and I hope that my business is going to be okay, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Although if I start with the doing, I take out the piece of, well, anything that happens, it's perfect.
Mhm.
And surrendering to, all right, like let's just go for it. Let's just do it. But I get to be this. And when I say that, committed, vulnerable, powerful, like that's who I am.
Mm.
And so authentically believing that, it's not always easy, right? That's the
Yeah,
ego coming in to be like,
totally.
oh, there it is again, dude. This client doesn't like you, or this does, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's for them, and maybe it is for me. How did I show up?
Mhm.
What were my ways of being with this client? And the
Mhm.
responsibility piece comes in where I can look at it and say, well, that didn't work, and then what am I going to choose now? Right?
Right. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah.
So you're like for me, it was becoming my own best cheerleader versus my own worst inner critic.
Yeah. Yes,
You
I
know?
mean, there's a saying in not only our 12 step, I sponsor gentlemen in the 12 steps, right? And so
Mhm.
I'll tell them, look, I may not answer the phone all the time, right? There may not be a meeting at 2 a.m. in the morning. And so the common denominator is you have yourself and you have your higher power, whatever that means for you, right? If it's God, if it's Allah, if it's just the meetings, like what is greater than you? And so in that, like that's who you get to lean into, right? And then everything outside of you is just a bonus. It's literally like a reflection of who you're showing up in the world as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. It's been so amazing to watch your journey and just witness the ripple effect that you're creating in your life. What I want to talk about is the board of advisors. So we asked you to be on the board of advisors for the Global Leadership
Yes.
Academy. And it
Yeah.
was because of your business acumen. I mean, you like are your business acumen is so amazing, and you walk the talk every single day, and you're leading transformation on a daily basis. And so grateful that you are with
Mm.
us. I'd love for you to talk about your vision for what you see, how you bring all of your
Mhm.
expertise and what you've created so far in the world, and how you bring that into law, and what your vision as we move forward with the Global Leadership Academy looks like.
Sure. Thank you. You know, it's interesting is the good enough conversation, right? Like it's all perfect because that's the when initially the conversation of what could be created and what support could I bring, I was looking at like, okay, where would I fit? And then I thought, as I'm looking at all the dynamics of the business and what is going to be created in this community, I'm like, anything, right? And all
Yeah.
of it. And so from a
Mm.
space of life experience, from a space of business experience, there's the technical items, which are business planning and budgets and P&Ls, and really that's the mechanical part of it. And I think the idea for me, which is where do you want me? Where can I be of support? Right, from a mentorship, maybe from a business standpoint, coaching. So it's wide open. And one of the things that leadership has taught me is that I don't have to put myself in this box of
Mm.
what I've done previously, what I've created previously. Now we have skills and we have opportunities to look at like, oh, here's what I've created in the past and here's what I could bring to this organization.
Mhm.
Tina, you were my first coach as a student, right?
Yeah.
And I would do anything for you, for Donese, for this team. And so that's the gratitude, that's the love. See, I'm gonna cry on a live stream. What do? Right? As a male, you suck it up, right? So
Suck it up. And we celebrate crying. Woo! Everybody that's listening
we
right now, we're
do.
going to celebrate crying.
We do. It's so powerful because that's the gift. That's a gift that gets to be
Yes.
given back. And I think when we come from that space, when I come from that space, there's nothing that I can't create, right? And especially in a community where people are like-minded and they're looking at what is the vision of GLE, what's the vision of what we want to create in this environment. And it aligns with what I said before, which is, transforming the world one person at a time, one person.
One
And
person.
so
One person.
I remember
Yeah.
one of the trainers talking about who he was enrolled. He was enrolled, but the guy that enrolled him only enrolled one person. And he's been training for a long time. I think he just retired. I mean, you guys probably know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, but like it's that, which is like, it doesn't matter, right? Like that
Mm.
one person that you can impact has the ripple effect
Yeah.
of impacting the world.
Yeah. And what's so crazy
Yeah.
about it is that, again, backwards. So the kind of the same concept as be, do, have. It's a backwards thing. It's like instead of serving out, we try and do, when really it's about if I just become part of this and serve and just be me and authentically together, we can create some really amazing stuff and
For
create
sure.
amazing impact. And so that's what I
Yeah.
like when I think about the board of advisors and I think about the Global Leadership Academy and where we're going and I mean
Mhm.
the end vision is all the way like from even that 0 to 8 until like I hope we have
Mhm.
people enroll in Glee that are 85, 90 years old. I think that would be amazing because it's never too late, Ryan. Right? It's never
Yes.
too late to go, okay,
Mhm.
I'm going to draw the line now. Here's my wake up call, my whatever you want to call it. I know that some people don't like that word, but like it's
Mhm.
that moment when you go, okay, my life's not working right now.
Yeah.
My life's not working right
Yes.
now, and I'm done making excuses for it. I'm like so bored
Mhm.
with myself of making excuses for it that I
Yeah,
get to
that's
step
right.
into something that's going to transform it. And that's
Yeah.
really what we're building at the Global Leadership Academy.
That's right. And think about this, like there's two, I love what you just shared. And I think I just turned 50 and, I was 46 or somewhere in that range when I went
Yeah.
through as a student. So it is never too late. And at the same time, which is on the flip side, your life doesn't have to be a wreck. It doesn't have to be like, oh, this isn't working, right?
Yeah.
You could think it's working. This is what I'm looking at, which is there's always opportunity for growth. There's always opportunity for that next cut, that next level of, okay, great. I have all the money. I have my wife is happy with me. I have the kids are great. And what is in the gap? Like, what's my blind spot? And so by going into a community and having that support, whether it's from teen to businesses, where you have that, like, hey, it's a safe place. And then it's also always a safe place if you choose that. The men that I go on the backpacking trips with and the groups that I'm in, we give that permission to have those tough conversations, to go deep, right? And so having that space to where they may say things that I receive better than my wife would say, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, we have that permission, but it's just
Yep.
another level of, okay, where do I go now?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
stop. And that's not
Yeah.
an overwhelming, I think that's the gift, right? That's
Yeah.
like the gift of what we're creating.
Right. And when you sink into it, it like actually could be really exciting, if, when you like realize, okay, my life isn't working, or hey, here are a couple of ways that I really get to level up. And what does that look like? I mean, just even being open to your ego being, the EQ side of it being more strong than your ego is huge. And so
Yeah.
if you're out there, oh, go ahead, Brian. Did you have something?
No,
Okay.
yes. I
Sorry.
was saying yes. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and I mean especially like the men's retreats and the men's healing and all that kind of stuff, like Ryan, where can people find you?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to give you my real estate address. So I'm in Las Vegas, Lynch Real Estate Group, Ryan at lynchrealestategroup.com. We're in the process of creating a business around the men's retreats and just in the formulation. We've been doing it just with a group of guys, and we thought, well, how can we bring this to the world? And so more to come. It's
Yep.
it's perfect. I'm always grateful for this dialogue. It reminds me of, okay, like I have this person that I love that I can connect with across the screen and know that I could call Tina anytime and she would figure it out. We would figure it out together, right?
And
And
we've
that
done that.
doesn't, we've
And
done that,
we've
and I
been
have
there.
not created that. I talked about my 20 buddies that I'm in contact with, and they're like ride or die guys, and I love them. And I feel like my connection with this community, it's at the next level, right? So how can I create that? That's what I'm looking at, which is how can I create that with my friends that don't know about this or haven't been exposed to this? It's risky for me, right? And then it's also like it's invigorating and it's like exciting and all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're out there and you're interested in this kind of thing, hook up. I would love someday we get to have men's healing retreats through the Global Leadership Academy. It's going to happen. And so we
Yes.
have, everywhere from teen programs to the Glee, the experience for adults, individual adults, to all the different kinds of stuff that we're putting into the Global Leadership Academy. Super excited about it. Love, love, love having you on board, Ryan Lynch. It would not be the
Thank
same
you.
without you. When I think,
Thank you.
I think I've told you this before, when I think about people that I always want on my team, your name comes up 100% of the time. I love you. You're
Mm.
amazing. Thank you for everything that you do for men and for men's healing, because men get to heal too. Men get to heal too.
Yeah. And thank you. I love you too, right? Of course. And just the conversation with my wife this morning that masculine and feminine is not male or female, and there's a dance, right? And so who do I get to be authentically in that moment? And that's the work for men, which is great. Like, and you're in a relationship, and who do you get to be? And it doesn't mean that you don't have your voice and and like, what are you creating in your world? So
Mhm.
that's what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
I'm so honored to be on this journey with you guys and creating this for the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hi to Stacy. Mwah.
Yes,
All
she may be
right. Sounds
listening.
good,
You never
everyone.
know.
I know she is. I can just feel it. I know she's.
Yes, yes.
All
Okay.
right. I think we're done.
Thank you.
Anything, Ryan, as a last, like something on your heart, anything that you want to say as we close out that we haven't talked about?
I think just the impact that transformational leadership has had on my life, it's hard to describe. And, when I think of like being creative or tapping into other areas of my life that it had been dormant for so long, I felt alive, right? And I felt alive from like a person that could be who he really was. And so if that helps anyone, whether it's male, female, whether it's any human, like I think that's the gift that keeps on giving. So thank you, Tina. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, that wraps up this
Yes.
session. We're back in about 20 minutes, so come back and see us. Thank you, Ryan. You're amazing. I love you.
Okay.
Bye. See you next
Love
time,
you.
everyone. Bye.
My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and I thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Check out our programs and events at trueyouteams.com. And until next time, make it an amazing day.